to begin with a question for you. One of the areas where housing needs are most acute are on tribal lands in South Dakota and across the country. Native American reservations have a housing stock that has suffered a severe underinvestment that stretches over decades. Now, one of the reasons for that is because we have what we call tribal trust land, in which the government holds in trust the land which belongs to the Native Americans. But when it comes time to build a home, showing that you actually have ownership or the ability to own the land and thus the location where the home is, becomes rather challenging. And there are limited numbers of financial institutions that have expertise in working through that particular issue. But this is an item that has literally been there for decades. Where do you think Congress should start when it comes to improving housing conditions for Native Americans? And I'm going to ask you a follow-up when we're done, but just to start things off, can you give me your thoughts about, these are rural areas, and so they're different than a lot of the rest of the country, but to me, this is critical for a population that really does have a very high level of poverty.
Senator Rounds, thank you for that question, and it's a very important one. So as you noted, there are a handful of lending institutions that have mastered the process for providing mortgage credit on tribal lands. And unfortunately, we haven't had a regulatory framework in which our financial regulators have used the carrots that they have in order to incentivize lenders to do more in this space. So there are a couple of things that we are actually championing. One is the use of a program called Special Purpose Credit Programs. Now, this is a program that has been on the books for decades. It is a construct of the Equal Credit Opportunity Act, but it's really never been used. It's similar to affirmatively furthering fair housing, right? We've never had implementation of the affirmatively furthering fair housing provision of the Fair Housing Act, and so we haven't realized the benefits that the law really holds. So it's the same thing with the Equal Credit Opportunity Act. Because we haven't had really usage of the Special Purpose Credit Program provision, we haven't seen the full scale of its benefits. So we are really encouraging the Department of Housing and Urban Development to work co-jointly with the CFPB and the prudential regulators to issue more guidance to give lenders a higher degree of confidence to create and implement special purpose credit programs, which can be designed specifically for serving Native American populations.
You know, I'd like to follow up a little bit on that, because I'd like to know whether or not you think there are items specifically with regard to the HUD Section 184 loan guarantee program that might be improved upon for this particular one, because that's really a Native focused housing program. Are you familiar with it? And are there some things that we could do specifically with that particular program?
Senator Rounds, unfortunately, I am not very familiar with that particular program, but I do know that special purpose credit programs can be used with any federal mortgage program. So they can be used with VA, they can be VA loans, USDA loans, FHA loans, and I'm sure that they can be used with this loan product that you just mentioned. Again, there's severe underutilization of the special purpose credit program, but it is specifically designed, it was put in place to meet the special credit needs of marginalized and underserved communities, and Native American populations are ripe for that opportunity.
Thank you for that. And I noticed that you mentioned the VA program. I have to recall that I think it was either 2016 or 2017. The Minneapolis-based office, which is responsible for several states for VA loans on Native American reservations, the Minneapolis office was given an award for having the highest number of VA awarded mortgages in the nation. They had 5. Now think about that. in terms of the failure of our country to provide those types of loans to Native American veterans. And so I do think that there are some things that we can work on that. And I just, but thank you very much for your thoughts with regard to that. And I see, Mr. Chairman, I think I've got a little bit of time left.
You really don't, but go ahead anyway.
Well, then let me just say this. Thank you for doing this particular item. And I think that this is an area that we can find some bipartisan agreement on with regard to improving housing programs that were well intended, but that may very well need just kind of a review to make sure that they're actually doing what they were supposed to do in the first place.